Ralph, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Big 12, baby.
Yeah.
And I think, Connor, you've been diving a little bit into them.
I sure have. That's been the subject near and dear to my heart, is the conference that I think all three of us have the most ties to, and it's kind of the most interesting conference in my opinion this year, just because there's so many different things that could happen. People were saying that last year about it too, that it was going to be the most unpredictable conference, and I don't think it's going to be much different this year, honestly. If anything, though, what I am excited about is the predictability is, I think, going to be at a higher level of competition. I think the conference overall is going to be a lot more relevant on the national scene, and we'll jump into all of it. We'll jump into some of the key returners, some of the key departures to both the NFL and to other schools. What some of the big news is in the Big 12 as far as just silly things like the Big 12 was so unpredictable last year that they decided to do away with the preseason poll, and it was actually Kenny Dillingham out of Arizona State that was starting that. Is he was, they were picked dead last and ended up winning the conference and then going to the playoff, and he was like, "Yeah, guys, this is obviously useless. Let's just let the football field decide." So, without further ado, we're just going to go team by team on this. We're going to discuss some of the more interesting teams as they stand right now, and then give some takes on all of them. Talk about the big games, the big matchups, and so yeah, let's start off in no particular order. Let's start off with Arizona State, shall we?
No order, huh? No particular order.
No particular order. Just alphabetical by favorite is how we're going.
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So Arizona State.
No bias here.
No, none. I wouldn't dream of it. Arizona State, one of the hottest teams in college football as far as the media is concerned, and that's a double-edged sword for them, obviously, because they've had hype in the past. This program has had a long history of skyrocketing, oftentimes into the top 10, sometimes knocking on the top 5, and then just as quickly tanking, and that hangover often lasts for years, and I do use the hangover term pretty seriously when referring to anything with Arizona State. But last year, yeah, they were picked to finish dead last. Probably, I think the over-under was 2.5 games according to Vegas, and they ended up winning 11 games, and were just one awful targeting no call away from avoiding that double overtime and going to the second round of the playoff. And yeah, I'm still salty, and I think most people have a right to be salty about that call. But yeah, still returning conference champions. A couple of NFL departures. They got, obviously, Cam Scadaboo is the biggest one. Those are gigantic shoes to fill. I mean, a legendary level season for him. Got drafted by the Giants in the 4th round. A lot of people thought that was way too low. They got Sam Levitt returning. I think this is going to be a much different offense this year. They've got a deep running back room, but they've had to really beef up and bring in some big people to try to rotate in to be able to replace what Scadaboo did. That being said, this receiver room is just stacked. I mean, it's a terrifying receiver room to be a part of. They're clearly moving away quickly and adapting to the fact they understand that Scadaboo's not there anymore, and they're going to try to play to Sam Levitt's strengths. Now, Sam Levitt is kind of the linchpin on this. The defense is highly experienced. They returned a ton of starters. Pretty much everybody that left was people that were talented but likely not to start, at least for the next 2 years. So the depth didn't really get affected by it. What he does on offense and with this system that they're adapting is going to be the difference maker in whether or not Arizona State rises or falls. He is a preseason Heisman top 5 already, and he went from being relatively unknown to that. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's able to live up to it. I mean, as a super fan, I'm a little bit biased. I'd love to hear Chance, your perspective.
Yeah, well, my biggest question with Arizona State is, and I was forced to watch multiple games on it, so I feel a little bit more versed than maybe other people would be. Sam Levitt has so much potential. He really does. I saw so many flashes last year, but they named him preseason offensive player of the year for the Big 12.
Yep.
He's getting some Heisman hype. Is that deserved yet? I mean, like I said, I saw a lot of flashes, but I saw a lot of other QBs in the Big 12 perform better than him. Is it just because Scattaboo was taking that production and he didn't need to, or is he ready for that moment? I mean, that's my worry, is all this pressure and all this hype is going on him, and while he's got the potential, is he really there yet? That's the question I have in my mind when it comes to Arizona State. So they've got the rest of the pieces. They've got big wide receiver talent too. I mean, they had some injuries last year and into the playoffs even that could have even put them on top, right? So they've got that. I don't know if I can put Sam Levitt at that level yet. But am I mistaken? I mean, what have you guys seen?
Chase, where are you coming in on that?
Well, I mean, it is a preseason thing for a reason. You know, I don't think he's fully proven. I don't think many players right now are fully proven because it is the preseason and a lot of the really dominant players were drafted and aren't in the league anymore. But I think Sam, like you said, has had a lot of flashes. I think Cam, was a bit of a crutch, and so there is an expectation that he needs to step up, and I think that's why people think he's gonna step up. Is he's in a great position for it. They have a lot of talent on the offensive side and the defensive side. Really, all he has to do is perform at a decent level, and he's gonna do well. I have them in the Big 12 championship this year. They definitely have a decently tough schedule, but I think that most of those games are going to be very winnable for them. And as long as they stay consistent, which unfortunately isn't always ASU's bread and butter, is consistency, as Connor and I have experienced very painfully. But I think with the coach they have now and the team they've built. They've kept a lot of players from last season. I think that they really do. I think they built a lot of confidence last year, proving the world wrong and showing that they were definitely way better than last place in the Big 12 by literally destroying Iowa State in the Big 12 championship, and then going down to the wire with a Texas team that a lot of people thought was going to be like the team last year. So
the spread on that game was 14.5. They went to double overtime, and a couple of weird plays and weird penalties and non-penalties were the difference there. I mean, that was a razor's edge victory for either side. And you look at a score like 39-31, and then you forget that was a double overtime 39-31. And Arizona State scored twice back to back in that first overtime to set it up, so that Texas had to respond. I mean, it was wild. So,
and ASU looked like the better team. They did.
They did down the stretch. Their defense put up way more of a fight. I honestly thought it was going to be more of a shootout, but the defense is what kept them in that game. Defense made plays, and most of the starters, and I do mean the vast majority of those starters, are back. So, a lot to be excited about. Not to turn this into an entire Arizona State podcast, though. We'll talk about the biggest games that are there, but there's one thing that I did want to talk about as far as notable transfers and returners. There's another category, new guys. There's one new guy that's going to be super interesting on this team that's kind of a feel-good story with Arizona State that has really flown under the radar. There's an offensive lineman. His name is Brandon Lloyd. He is native of Jamaica and had never watched a game of football, never played a down of football, didn't know anything about the sport. He comes to Arizona State on a shot put scholarship. And the year that they start to be good, because his freshman year was one of the two back-to-back 3-9 seasons. So he was like, why would I pay attention to the football team? They suck, but then they start to get good, and he says, I might want to watch this football game. This guy is 6'10", 370 pounds, shot putter. And so they just say, hey, why don't you just come to practice sometime? And the coaches
just playing corner, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the coaches look up at him and they're like, if you can learn a playbook, you're going to start for sure. So he spent all of last season on the practice squad. And it'll be really interesting. They haven't announced whether he's going to start, but this line also brought in several big-time transfers, two of which are twins from Iowa State, who are Giants. But if he ends up starting, and if he actually has the effect that they think, this could be one of the biggest and baddest offensive lines in college football. So that's just a story to watch that I'm really excited to see. I hope he gets his shot. It would be a cool, just kind of American dream story. Then let's go with their two biggest games. At Mississippi State versus Texas Tech. I understand that Mississippi State is probably the worst team. I think they took the crown from Vanderbilt last year for the worst team in the SEC. But they're going on the road this time. And Arizona State has never won a game against the SEC until last year. I do think this is a more interesting matchup than people are giving it credit for. Mississippi State got kind of embarrassed. They've got a new fired up coach, and they've got a couple people returning that Arizona State needs to be really careful about stepping into the road SEC environment. That one could challenge them. And then Texas Tech, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Texas Tech because they're a very interesting program. And those two teams going against each other are the two preseason favorites. When they meet about halfway through the season, is if things go as they seem to be going, that could be a pivotal matchup in the game. And again, one that on the road last year, Texas Tech is one of the two teams in the regular season that did beat Arizona State, and they also crushed the transfer portal and have a couple of returning starters that could make that one of the funnest games of the entire year if both teams end up living up to their hype. So
yeah,
lots to be excited about on that. Let's move on though. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk about the Arizona Wildcats. Obviously, the rival school of Arizona State. They had the exact opposite experience last year. Of Arizona State, and as much as I love seeing the Wildcats have a hard time, it was pretty mind-boggling to see just how far they dropped. And Chase, can you talk a little bit about the impact that leadership does make on a team? Because they retained most of their starters last year, but they lost their head coach and most of their assistant coaching staff. And I feel like that is just so telling in this sport.
Well, obviously, it affected their team pretty drastically. I mean, they had a Heisman candidate at wide receiver, and he still had a great season, but he definitely didn't change much for their winning record. And their team just could not get it together, and they struggled in winning games that were basically at the beginning of the year everyone would have expected them to win easily, and they're like you said, they had the opposite season. It was like a Black Mirror effect of ASU of what's going on with them. Like it was not fun to watch, even as someone who really doesn't like watching them win. But it's sad to see a team drop off so quickly when they were expected to do big things. So
yeah,
is it just me, or is it Arizona always has this young up and coming quarterback that has a fantastic freshman sophomore season and then is going to be the new it guy? And then just falls apart, and it's like, what happened to him? It seems like that always happens. Now, I do think Noah Fafita still is very nice and it does well, but I mean, he kind of had some Heisman hype too, right?
He did.
And it just, and now it's just kind of like we talk about, oh, it's Noah Fafita, it's just a regular quarterback. I mean, what happens to them in that position? I don't understand how they can be so high and then just drop off all the time there.
Yeah, it's kind of the conundrum of that culture there. I mean, you could probably ask a lot of U of A fans over the years what happens there too, because it's even more dramatic sometimes than how far ASU drops off. They spike faster and then they drop faster than Arizona State does. And yeah, this is going to be the toughest part. Is they have no hype, but they also had so much turnover. They just got gutted in the transfer portal. What little bit of experience they did have and they were developing, most of that transferred out. And the transfers they got in are people who are really just trying to make a name for themselves at the D1 level, or trying to take a chance on it and see if they can crack their way from the FCS into the FBS, or from kind of other flailing FBS programs. Noah Fafita is the only one worth mentioning. I will say, one interesting transfer is Ismail Mahdi, the running back from Texas State. Texas State, their record didn't show it, but they were a vastly improved team in the Sun Belt. And they're probably not going to be as good this year because of all the transfers, but one of the big parts of that was that running back. What's going to be interesting, though, is he's a smaller guy who's really fast. He's tough, but he's short and he's lighter, and he does really well at maneuvering through the creases that open in the line. But Arizona's line is just in tatters right now. It's so inexperienced, and I don't think that they're going to be able to use him as well as they need to for him to be effective. I just don't think he has the size to dominate the line of scrimmage by himself. I don't think that he can make plays putting the team on the shoulders. So wish him all the best moving up into the Power 4 level, but it's going to be a tough road for him. And then Noah Fafita, he has almost nobody at receiver left. I mean,
Well, I mean,
tough.
And in Arizona fashion, when they're supposed to be good, they're bad. And whenever they're supposed to be bad, sometimes they make a good season out of it. So
yeah,
you never know. Maybe they'll do that again.
Big matchups for these guys. Early on, they got Kansas State and Iowa State, some in-conference games. Basically, those are three teams that we're going to find out very early on if they can make something of themselves. We'll talk a little bit more about K-State and Iowa State, whether they can have any kind of continuity into the next season. But those matchups between those three teams are going to be very telling for the health of the conference. They're not going to get a lot of hype in the media, but they're really the only ones that are going to matter for if they can prove themselves to be competitive, or if this is going to be another solid, true rebuilding year for them. Moving on. All right, Chance, here's your opportunity.
My opportunity.
BYU, tell us how
BYU.
it is.
It's been an interesting a little bit because I think a couple months ago, and BYU's expectations were, Big 12 championship, playoff run. And now it's, well, maybe that's possible, but maybe we're going to have a bad... we don't know. And to be honest, I spent the majority of last season wondering, is this team good? And, I was like, after Kansas State game, I'm like, this team's good. Yeah. And then, like, after the Oklahoma State, I'm like, wait, I don't know if this team is good. Yeah. You lose to Kansas, and you're like, oh, boy, we were frauds, And then you beat Colorado the way you did, and you're like, whoa,
smacked them down.
We were good, And it took until probably the last game of the season for it to solidify. That was a dang good team. That was probably a playoff team, And now you go back to this, and it's, you have a lot of returning core to that team. Mm-hmm. You hit the portal, and a very underrated portal, in my opinion. They did well, but you got the quarterback situation. Technically, Jake Retzlaff is still on the roster, but he's leaving. We won't talk more about that, but he's gone, right? And so now you got three guys who you don't really know much about. I mean, they've got some experience in college, but you don't know. And it's funny, college fans they're funny because they'll complain and be like, Jake Retzlaff should be rated higher, and this and that. And then as soon as he's leaving, they're like, well, he wasn't good anyway, so, and we don't need him. And
now the statistics matter.
Right.
He's off the roster.
Yeah, now he only threw over 200 yards so many times, and we don't need that. And it's probably somewhere in between. What Jake brought you was when you needed the confidence, the gumption, when you needed a 2-minute offense, that dude was clutch. Yeah. He came through and won a lot of games. You also had the side of Jake where it was like, dude, what was that fade pick you just threw? Yeah. Like, that was terrible.
That was a go route, and you just threw it like 15 yards behind the man.
It was
cost you the season.
It was an interesting thing. I will say, it feels like this team needs more of a game manager than it needs a stud quarterback to be successful. They lost some parts in the offensive line, but they've got some good parts and good transfers that I'm not as worried about that. they did get hit with wide receivers. They do have a stud wide receiver in Chase Roberts, and they've got to figure out the other ones. They've got a transfer come in, Tiger Bachmeier, Bear, his brother. Lions, Tigers, Bears, baby. But Bear might be the quarterback. Who knows? Tiger could be a wide receiver. You got JoJo Phillips, so you've got some potential there. For the first time, you've got a reliable tight end, Carson Ryan. So they've got parts if they can just get somebody who does not throw the ball away. We'll see. And on the defensive end, the issue last year, which I mean they were great defensively, and I feel like they're going to even take a bigger step this year. Their line had some issues. They did have Tyler Batty, but they were undersized, and they went in and they picked up some big boys, especially at defensive tackle, that it's going to be hard to run on them. And hopefully the pass rush gets a little better. So defensively, they're going to be carrying them through some games. It's can they get that quarterback? And that might determine 3 to 4 wins or losses. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. But don't be surprised if they have a 6-6 season, and don't be surprised if they somehow make the championship game. It's all up in the air.
Chase, you and I were at that ASU BYU game. What are your thoughts on seeing what that team could do this season?
You know, it's definitely a team with potential. Obviously, with the quarterback situation, it makes it hard to predict any team that you don't know who's going to be the quarterback. That's the most important position in football. So if we don't know who's going to be throwing the ball, then it's hard to say. But I do agree with Chance in saying that if they get just a game manager, their schedule is pretty favorable. I don't see that many really tough challenges for them in their schedule. And I think if they just have someone who can not turn the ball over, I think their defense and their other skill positions will get them into into contention in the Big 12. I mean, the 2 games that I really see on their schedule, they're separated by a bye, and it's Iowa State and then a bye week, and then Texas Tech on the road. Those are both on the road, so those are 2 tough games. But you have the bye in between to prepare for Texas Tech and
if you
Iowa
go
State.
1-1 though, then yeah. I mean, you're looking pretty good, and you have to beat Utah. That one's always a tough one.
That was the other one that I had written down as a big game, and I don't think that Utah has a whole lot of hype going into this season, but that is a bitter rivalry. That is always an incredible game and so competitive. Utah fell apart down the stretch last season, and that Holy War game was still one of the tightest struggles for both teams, and it's in Provo this year, so it's going to be a very different environment, much more friendly to BYU, but they can't let their guard down, and Utah, no matter what happens, is going to be coming for blood, as always. And so with the other 2 games, those other 2 big matchups between Iowa State and Texas Tech, they have to take that rivalry game, because I feel like this team is not going to have a lot of margin for error. They can't let their guard down for 1 second.
Well, and I think if you're looking at it as a playoff committee, that schedule's pretty soft. And so if you want to make the playoffs, you could only lose 2 games max. Yeah. And you have to perform.
They only lost 2 games last year and they got snubbed.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it depends on how the Big 12's viewed, but yeah, there's no leniency. You got to win those games.
Yeah. On that note about the game manager, I think one of the big reasons why BYU could thrive with that system is they run a lot more triple option. It's a modern triple option. It's a flashier version than like the service academies or some of the smaller schools or some of the FCS schools run. But it is still one that really spreads the ball around. And I don't like to dog on Jake Retzloff too much, because being in that system, his in the air stats are going to be a lot lower because they're in that system. But it also allows for more flexibility in that. You don't have to have a guy who's going to put the game on his shoulders when you're in that system. And if they continue to run that at the elite level that they have, I do think that they can have a pretty seamless transition. But it is a unique offense that they're going to have to make sure that they do find the right guy who can handle that pressure. Let's go on to Iowa State. Speaking of last year, runner-up in the Big 12, bounced back from a blowout loss in the conference championship. Really, this probably the most interesting Cinderella story of last year's college football season. I mean, they had never won more than 8 or 9 games in the history of the program, or something crazy like that. Or maybe it was that they never started 7-0. I know that they never made it to 10 wins. That was a big deal when they made it to 10
First
wins.
time.
Yeah. So finishing the season with 11 wins, including a win over Miami, and Cam Ward did play in that game. That was, but he was there. He was there, and they beat him. They beat him fair and square in arguably the most entertaining bowl game of the non-playoff season. I mean, that was a back and forth game the entire time. They ended up winning by 1 point right at the buzzer. I mean, it was beautiful. It was fun to watch, and as someone who's not a huge Miami fan, it was fun to watch them get taken down by the little guy. But really, it was just a good football game. What'll be interesting for Iowa State this year was last year the wide receiver show, or was it the QB show? Yeah. Most of their offense was carried by 2 players, Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins, who both got drafted. And they lost 2 twin brothers who transferred to Arizona State, who were kind of the big anchors on their offensive line. Now, they're going to have a good offensive line. Any school in Iowa always seems to have a good offensive line. But is Rocco Becht actually the guy? Or did he have help because he had 2 lights out receivers that he will not have this year? Personally, I'm leaning towards no, and only because historically, this is not a football school. It was fun to watch, and I would love to see them have success again. I really would. But I got to live in the land of reality on this one. I don't see it. I see Rocco Becht having a good year, but I don't see the team having a good year. But we are going to find out early on. They've got a pretty favorable schedule. They open with, I believe, 3 games at home, including versus Kansas State and versus Iowa. And I say that those are big games, not that those are necessarily favorable, but they're both at home, and they're opportunities to prove themselves early. We're going to know really quickly in their schedule if this team was a fluke last year or not. And I'm looking forward to finding that out, and I would love to follow them again for another year, but I have a feeling they're going to fade back. Chance, I mean, what do you think?
Well, what for you is not? You said that they weren't going to be good, right? What's not good?
I mean, they're not going to win 11 games this year. They're not going to make the conference championship again this year. I doubt that they will make it to nine wins.
Okay.
And if they do get 9 wins, it'll be because they won a bowl game.
Okay. I think a solid 8-4 is reasonable for this team. My concerns are with you. It's that wide receiver group. Who's going to catch the ball?
Yeah.
Because we don't know.
They didn't replace a lot of that talent.
No, and they lost a lot of it. I do like. I think he's good, but he's not going to have the year that he had last year.
The man is tough as nails, and he's smart. He plays every play like it's his last play ever.
Yeah.
He just, I worry about his sporting cast.
Yeah. I think they take a step back. I think they still have a decent year. An 8-4 regular season. And the hard thing about the Big 12 is your top of the line talent, maybe your Georgia, your Texas, or whatever. That's harder to find in the Big 12, but you certainly don't have a Mississippi State. I mean, there's no layups really in the conference. So you're going to lose games because it's going to be competitive every single game. So if you don't have that star receiver, that star player to put the pressure off the QB, you might lose a couple games because of that when it comes down to the wire. And that's how I see their season going.
I mean, I agree that they'll take a step back, but only because I think that the Big 12 is going to be pretty top heavy this season. I think there's a lot of teams that'll be competing for it, and I think Iowa State will be in the conversation. I just don't think they're going to finish it like some other teams I have actually being in the championship. I only see 2 games on their schedule. They have another quite favorable schedule, honestly, in the Big 12. And I think that really the 2 games that I think they're going to lose is obviously Arizona State, but maybe they want revenge for how we treated them in that game. So you never know. So it's like maybe they really got hurt by that game, and I would understand why, because that was a real fun game to watch on my end. So I can't imagine being one of their fans traveling that far to that game to watch that performance from their team. It was definitely
first 18 minutes of that championship were pretty neck and neck, and then some guy named Cam Scadaboo just said no more. We're not going to make this close. We're going to call this. This is our game. We're done.
but ultimately, I really only see I see 2 games that I think they're guaranteed to lose, and then maybe I think them and BYU will be a close game. I think because they're in Iowa State, I think that'll be a closer game, especially with the quarterback
what's your
situation.
other guaranteed loss?
The other guaranteed loss, I think even though the last 2 years they've beaten Kansas State, I think they're going to lose the opener to Kansas State at Kansas State. So I think that's
I think that one.
You think that K-State's going to come in come into Iowa State first game?
No,
of the
they're
season?
at Kansas State.
No, they're. I'm looking at this guy.
They play at home.
That's Iowa State at home, August 23rd. It's one of the very first games of the whole season. Iowa State at home.
I mean, I do have that as one of my trap games.
What? It says it's a neutral field in Ireland.
Oh, is it?
Is it really?
I think it might be.
That's
you're right.
Aviva Stadium.
Is that the annual Ireland game?
Yeah, you're right. Well, there's
the Aer Lingus College Football Club. That was the
right.
Georgia Tech.
Shout out to us for all being wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot about
We're
that.
pros. We know what we're doing.
Yeah. All right, so which team's going to party harder in Ireland? And that's going to be who comes out on top.
Iowa State. Well, actually, those are both farm teams.
Yep.
And Iowa and Kansas, man, they got nothing to do but drink a lot of beer in those states. They're going to throw down. They're going to drain that city.
But yes, I still think Kansas State's going to take that game. They've lost 2 years in a row, and I don't think they're going to want to lose a third in a row.
Neutral site changes things.
Yeah, that's a tough game. I agree. I think Cincinnati can be a tough game, and TCU can be a tough game as well. Just kind of trap games in there.
I do think that Avery Johnson has a higher ceiling than Rocco Beck. I think he also has a lower floor.
Yes.
He's more prone to making mistakes. But you want to talk about a guy that's shown flashes of brilliance in that conference. If he finally figures out how to be consistent and how to grow a beard, then he could be really, really good. My man's got a little bit of baby face.
Mm-hmm.
He's an animal. So, yeah, fun team to watch. Hope they do well, but I'm just not seeing it. Now, the team that I think a lot of us are really crossing our fingers that they finally do well, except against our teams, is Kansas. How great would it be to have Kansas finally win 10 games?
They're such an interesting team. I mean, last year was the year, right?
It was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be. They had Devin Neal. Jalen Daniels. They had it all. And unfortunately, they ruined it for some people too. I mean, they showed it at the end of the season that they had it all. They just did not show at the beginning of the season. They started out horrible.
Those games were real. Okay, I did the math on it. They were 24 total points. That's 3 touchdowns away from being 10-2. 5 of their 7 losses were one possession games, including I think 3 of those losses were by 3 points or less. They were in almost every single game that they played. They were so close to being legitimately good, and it's a shame that they weren't able to come up clutch in those moments.
Not to mention they upset 3 ranked teams in a row last season, being Iowa State, BYU, and Colorado. Absolutely just shaking up the entire Big 12.
Yeah.
Just like, I'll just beat you all.
Yeah, they did. And they return a lot of those players. And what they really did, I mean, they beefed up their defense. Their D line is a lot deeper and a lot bigger than it used to be. Now, I will say, Kansas has one of the toughest schedules in the Big 12. Yeah. They've got the Week 3 matchup against Missouri, which is another team that we'll talk about that on the SEC episode. But that could be that could be a make or break game for both of those programs that year to prove if they're really something or not. And then they also play Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State. They dodge Arizona State and BYU. So if they can stay healthy, and by they I mean Jalen Daniels, because there's rumors that he's fighting off yet another injury. I forget which one it is, back or knee or something. But if he can stay healthy when he's healthy, I mean, he is terrifying. He's magnificent to watch. And so they've got the pieces again. But can they keep the quarterback healthy? And can they finally close out a game?
Yeah. You know what is the weirdest thing to say? Is Kansas football is good. That feels so wrong to say.
I know.
But, I mean, beyond just this season, they're recruiting well. I mean, they're doing well as a program. I mean, I think they're going to get out of that stigma of they're a basketball school and they suck at football, because they're all right. And I think they're going to have a decent season. I don't see a repeat of last year. I think that they're going to be competing. I don't have them in my championship game, but they're towards the top of the conference for me.
Lance Leipold has taken that team and grabbed it by the horns and just molded it into a new culture.
Yeah.
A culture of wanting to win, a culture of caring about Kansas football, period. And I think he loves that. What would have to happen, though, to put him on the hot seat? Because I don't, even in spite of falling wildly short of expectations 2 years in a row, his seat is as calm as it gets. What would it take? When is passion not enough compared to the lack of execution?
They'd have to fully fall off this year. I mean, 2, 3, 4 wins. If they had 2, 3, 4 wins, he gets in question. Otherwise, I think he's recruiting well. He's doing well. He's elevated the program. That he's pretty safe, in my opinion.
Nope, I agree. I don't think the expectation is very high when you hire a coach for Kansas. So for football at least. So I think they have a similar thing going that Kentucky does in the SEC, is that they have that, basketball stigma, and that their football is not going to do that much. But then they have a couple games a year where they play upset, and they keep it interesting. It's a fun team to watch. I don't have them significantly improving this season, but I do enjoy watching the Jayhawks knock off some of these teams that really expect to just dog walk them. So
because of their schedule and because of the pieces that they have, I have them playing Arizona State if you had gun to my head, if I had to pick, they're my number 2 in the conference if they can put it in the Big 12 championship. They have the pieces. I'm saying that they have to live up to I think that they have Arizona and we're about to talk about Texas Tech. So if you're going to go into Texas Tech, save it for like 34 seconds.
Chance, how do you feel about that?
About Kansas in the championship game?
Being the number 2, how do you feel about that?
No.
I'm saying that that Arizona State and them have the highest ceiling. I'm not saying they will, but if they live up to it, I think that they've got it.
I think they have a high ceiling, but the second highest ceiling, no. And their floor is lower.
Connor, do you think they're making the Big 12 championship?
I don't think they will, but I think they can.
See, he's back blocking it all.
There's no hot take. It's a lukewarm take, guys.
I got a hot take coming next. If you guys want to hold on for it,
I was priming up for that one
already.
Okay, you can. Let's move on. I'll put a pin in that one. I'm willing to come back to it. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the team that everybody all of a sudden seems is good. I'm going to let you guys chat this one out, and then I'll talk about it at the end, because I need to be quiet and let you guys talk, because I have a feeling that y'all are gonna be doing a lot of interrupting and eye rolling when I get going. Chance, tell us what you got on Texas Tech. Go ahead.
You know what is something that really bothers me? Is when people are like, oh yeah, Texas Tech isn't going to be good because their program has always showed that they're this and that. Like, these players had played 8 years ago when they were bad and showed this tendency, right? This is a different Texas Tech team. It's completely. And you can't follow school tradition and say traditionally they fall off, because these guys have no part of that tradition. They're going to make their own tradition. And what Texas Tech is they are an excellent offense that had an absolutely atrocious defense last year. One of the worst defenses in the country. So what do? They threw buco bucks at the transfer portal, picked up some of the best dudes in the country, and now they're going to return that excellent offense, and they're going to have an excellent defense to go with it. And they're going to be monsters. And it's not just this year. I mean, they're getting dudes in the recruiting cycle that they're going to be an up-and-coming team for years and years to come. I mean, I don't see any holes in this team, personally. I see a lot of talent. The only holes that I can see, if you're pushing it, is they were 5-1 last year in one-score games. So they got some favorable games in there towards them. It could have gone either way, right? So I see that argument, but they're much improved from there. And then everybody keeps talking about, well, are they going to mesh on defense? And I think there's some truth to that. But when you've got good, talented players that understand football, they're going to figure it out. And this team is going to figure it out.
Chase.
Texas Tech is definitely an interesting team. I mean, they put so much money into the transfer portal this season. I think it was the most out of any school. And I was looking
Texas Tech outspending the likes of Oregon, Alabama,
Yeah,
Georgia.
that's in true Texas fashion. They went big or went home.
All that oil money.
Yeah. So I when I first started looking at this conference, Texas Tech was one of the first teams I looked at because they looked interesting, and I do believe they are one of those teams that is going to be at the top of the conference and going to be in the conversation for the Big 12 championship. I think they have a bit of a tougher schedule than some of the other teams that I think might take it, but I do think that they're going to be within. I think they're going to be within one game of that Big 12 championship, and if another team doesn't pull it out and they do, I think they'll be right in it. So,
all right, let me start off with the positives. On my opinion, I think I'm going to earn myself a spin of the wheel on this one.
Oh, geez.
Texas Tech has one of the easiest starts to this season. Their first 5 games are so winnable. They got a low-tier FCS team. They got a low-tier MAC team. They've got a flailing Oregon State. They
are Pac-12 champions.
Yeah, you're right. The Pac-2 champion last year. Then they've got Utah and Houston, both who have almost no identity anymore as teams. Those are road games. So they could very easily start off 5-0. That being said, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna make a lot of people mad with this one. Texas Tech is a cursed program.
That's why I said what I did. That's why I said what I did. It has nothing to do with the past.
You say in the last 10 years, but I'll raise you one in the last 60 years of Texas Tech football. They've got almost nothing going on. They had a young man by the name of Patrick Mahomes.
Who's that guy?
They could barely get to 8 games with the guy who is arguably, certainly the best quarterback in the NFL right now, although by a narrower margin as other people do improve. I don't get too mad about Joe Burrow there, Chase. But pretty much hands down the best quarterback in the NFL. And he was a star at Texas Tech. You and I, again, watched him play against a pretty rough Arizona State team that year, and they still lost. This team does not, there's something in the air about this team. I will believe it when I see it. They can start off 5-0. They can throw all the money that they want. Lubbock, Texas is not as desirable of a place to play football as many other schools in Texas alone. Sure, they have money. Lots of teams have lots of money. I'm saying they've had Cliff Kingsbury, they've had Mike Leach, not able to live up to expectations. They've had people like Patrick Mahomes not able to live up to expectations. You think Baron Morton is going to be a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes? I'm not even saying Baron Morton isn't a great quarterback. I'm not saying he's not a stud. But this team, there is something about this program. I'm not seeing them making it to any kind of title. Certainly not the playoff. And yeah, I'll die on this hill that the only way Texas Tech wins 10 games this year is if they get their 10th win in a bowl game.
I mean, I saying that you think that this quarterback is is better than Patrick Mahomes is the only way they're going to be better. No, I think their team is much better than they were when they had Patrick Mahomes. Even Patrick Mahomes admitted within his first couple years in the NFL that he didn't know how to read a defense until he got there and had Andy Reid coaching him. So,
he got
as talented as Patrick Mahomes is, and he is, like you said, the best one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. I don't think at Texas Tech he was that guy. He had the talent, he had the arm strength, he had the grit to get through those games and to put up these shootouts like the one he had against OU and Baker Mayfield. Oh my God, that was a fun game to watch. And it was amazing. But like in Texas Tech fashion, their defense was non-existent. Like it was Swiss cheese. You just walk right through them. This year, I think they're going to be better than Swiss cheese, which is not a high ceiling for that. So,
yeah. Connor, was Patrick Mahomes the number 1 pick overall?
I don't think so.
Oh, no, he was not. Was he the first QB taken?
I don't think so either.
No, he was not. Right? So that just tells you that he was not viewed as the savior, the guy going into the NFL. He was good, but he wasn't viewed as that guy in college. And they don't need that guy. Texas Tech doesn't need that guy. Now, you're telling me...
The trend is to get talent and then not develop it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But you're telling me
money.
You're telling me that because they didn't do that in the 60s, that they're not going to do it now. That's what you're telling me.
No, I'm saying that over the last 60 years, they haven't done it. Yeah. Over the last 60 years, they haven't done it.
But like, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the transfer portal. These guys are already talented. They don't need to develop them. They are talented. They've proved it. They have just a beast of a defensive line and linebacking core. Okay. Just some of the best dudes in the country going over there. They don't have to. If they don't get any better, they're still crazy good.
Then I'll believe it when I see it. My mark is that they only win 10 games this year if their 10th win is in a bowl game.
That's not as crazy of a take.
That's not that crazy. I see them getting. I can see them getting to 10 wins in the regular season, but a couple of those games are toss-ups. I think
okay. Don't now. You guys are walking it back.
We're not walking it back. It's a hard schedule.
You guys are talking about them being in the playoff. You guys are talking about them winning the championship game. I'm saying they don't win the championship.
I said that they'd compete and they'd be in it to the end of the season, just like last season in the Big 12. It was all the way to the end of the season. 5 teams were in it for that. I think this year is going to be very similar, but with better records.
Yeah, I have them in my championship game, but I mean, you have to get that's the mark. You have to be 11-1 or 10-2, and you slip up one more game and you're out. I mean, that's not crazy to say.
I'm putting their max at 9-3. I'm thinking 8-4 is the most likely scenario. In spite
what games are you saying they're going to lose?
See them losing Kansas, Arizona State, Kansas State, BYU.
You have them losing 4.
Those are likely losses, and I could see them slipping up against a lot of teams too.
You guys are dogging Utah too much.
That was I didn't want to give Utah too much credit because we haven't talked about them, but yeah, that's the other potential loss that I see. First road game of the year after 3 probably pretty fairly simple, straightforward wins going into Salt Lake City. That's a very easy trap game against an always dangerous but recently underperforming squad.
There's definitely variability when you have a ton of new players and you got to figure out whose ego matches with who and who can work together and who's not a team player. That's what the transfer portal brings to the league, but I do think that they're still going to be in the conversation. I don't have them in the Big 12 championship, but I think I only don't because there's a team in here that has a way easier schedule, and I think they're going to be in it. So
that's like my Duke pick, right?
Similar, kind of similar to your Duke pick. Yep.
9-3, absolute max. 7-5 would not surprise me in this list.
I don't think 7-5.
I think they're going to be 10-2.
Yeah, I can definitely see 10-2.
But I could see them dropping 2 more, but I think 10-2.
Okay. If you guys don't think it's that hot of a take, then
I think your other take was hotter. If you truly think that Kansas is making the Big 12
hotter. Yeah.
If you think they're making the Big 12 championship, then yeah,
you're wrong. Yeah.
You're going to be spinning that wheel.
Hey, if you got a question, you can go ahead and ask me.
Do you think
Kansas we're going to die on that hill?
Do you think Kansas is making the Big 12 championship? Is that the hill you're ready to die on?
I think that they have the most likely chance of getting that second spot.
Are you willing to die on that hill?
Yeah,
it seems like he is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
I take that.
We're challenging that. Yeah, 100%.
All right. You got it.
Oh man, I hope Tech crushes them now.
All right.
That is definitely.
But
I think it's hilarious that you thought the other one was way hotter than that. There's no way. Kansas is a talented team, but there's no way they're gonna. There's so many other teams that are gonna be up there.
Yeah, they have to play at Texas Tech. I don't have them winning that game.
Kansas makes Big 12.
Congrats on your first hot take, Connor.
Yeah, congrats.
Thanks.
Well, I don't know if I should be congratulating you. Congratulations on your future punishment.
Maybe he's into that.
It's a way safer thing than Duke. That's for sure.
I think he kind of likes Payne.
Kansas doesn't.
There it is. Kansas makes.
I think he kind of likes Payne, Chance. He's an ASU fan, so
Okay.
Congratulations on your future Payne, Connor.
Let's be real. All three of us have had just our hearts ripped out by our teams.
Dude, I live in Arizona. It's all suffering. All the sports teams are suffering.
All right. Let's close this out with kind of a lightning round on some of the teams that are getting less hype. Let's go. Anybody got any thoughts on West Virginia? As I see it, this program is unfortunately stuck in an endless cycle of rebuilding. This year, they got some talented people, but they've got some not so talented people. They returned a couple, but they lost a couple. They got Rich Rodriguez now. That guy is either boom or bust. Being it's his first year, pretty likely chance this is going to be a bust. If they make a bowl game, then God bless them.
I think that's their make a bowl game, but I'm excited to see Rich Rod. That's the part I'm excited about.
Yeah, it's they've got an easy path to the first 2 wins, but then the rest of it, I mean, they got a little bit.
I could see them playing trap game for a couple teams, but I think they're going to be a very.
That's usually what West Virginia is good for is being trap games for other teams. But they got at BYU, at Arizona State versus Texas Tech. They're at Kansas. I mean, it's going to be tough sledding for a lot of their schedule. So yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement. Love to see them get a bowl game, but we think that's probably going to be their ceiling. UCF, similar position. First year coach who has had success there before, but he had to build that program. Scott Frost is back.
Have you seen his recent quote?
That he was coerced.
No, well, yeah.
To go into that they just bound his hands and feet and tossed him in the trunk of a car and dragged him to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Dragged him to his alma mater, dragged him to the 5-time national champions. Yeah.
They
Frost.
They also asked him what he learned about his tenure at Nebraska. You know what he said?
I forget what he said to that.
Don't take the wrong job. That's what he learned.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And if he's able to repeat success, then great. But man, that was a bit audacious. And I understand that Nebraska is a program that's been in shambles for well over a decade now. But he was supposed to be the guy to change that, and now he's like blaming the fact that people asked him to do the job on being the reason why he couldn't do the job, why he couldn't make the most out of the number 1 QB to come out of that class. It's like, give me a break. Anyways, unfortunately, not seeing UCF do anything this year. They could be on the rise again. TCU, always a talented program, but can rarely put it together. If they find any consistency, though, that's, again, always TCU's kind of calling card, is if they're able to string together some form of rhythm on both sides of the ball, they can beat anybody in the country, honestly, in my opinion. But
I think they've got more potential than people think. I do like TCU.
Yeah.
I think they'll be in the upper half of the Big 12.
They're a dark horse for sure, but their ceiling and floor are equally big.
Yeah,
they've got one of the biggest spreads on their potential.
Don't be surprised if they win a big game and lose a bad game.
Yeah, probably back to back.
Yeah,
as that usually happens to them. Oklahoma State. Anybody want to start playing the bagpipes?
Man.
Play Amazing Grace.
So some crazy stats. Ready? They lost their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, right? Their quarterbacks have not thrown a college pass.
Ooh.
Not one college football pass thrown between their quarterbacks. And they returned one offensive starter. That's it.
Oh, boy.
Just completely gutted. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. It does feel like it's Mike Gundy's last straw. He's got to put something together or else.
And this is the roster they've given him to make his last ride with.
It's tough sledding. I don't see it. It's tough. I mean, they got some dudes, but they got gutted and lost everybody, and to make something out of nothing, I don't see it.
It's a shame that his win percent, if he does end up retiring after the season, that his win percentage is going to be so much lower on his career after these two, because he has been a solid head coach for a long time and produced a ton of talent.
The Pokes have been really fun to watch for as long as I've watched college football. They've always gone toe to toe with OU, and they've been really fun to watch. Even one of the first years I watched, they went to the Fiesta Bowl against Stanford, and that game went down to the wire and was decided on a field goal in overtime. It was an amazing game. It was one of my first college football games, and that was it is really sad to see them in this state that they are now, because they've always been a fun team to watch.
Yeah, they've churned out a ton of NFL talent over the years. I think they still have the record for the single game rushing yards. I forget who did that. I forget his name. Not Samaje Perine, was it?
That's Oklahoma.
No, then who was it? I could have sworn it was an Oklahoma State guy. Man. Either way, they've had a ton of great games, a ton of great seasons.
I'm just shocked that one season. What damage one season can do. I mean, them and FSU, and I think FSU's in a better spot than Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
because
both of those teams were took a hit from the people choosing Alabama over them. So, Florida State lost their playoff spot 2 years ago to that Alabama team, and that first year when they went to the Fiesta Bowl, they lost one game to Iowa State, and they gave the rematch to LSU Alabama instead of giving OSU a shot. So
we love Alabama on this podcast.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what we do. We just love Alabama here.
We just love all the extra chances they get. Anyway.
Yep. Go Roll Tide for the refs.
I have a brother-in-law who likes Alabama. Actually,
I'm terribly sorry.
It is a terrible time.
Let's go over to a team that I hope this isn't as hot of a take as it might be, but I think Utah's in a similar position. I think that Kyle Whittingham and Mike Gundy are near the end of their careers. My hot take, I'll just say it right up front on this one about Utah. I don't think that as long as Kyle Whittingham is the head coach of Utah, that they will have another top 15 finish. I don't see it. Not with BYU's rise, not with conference realignments. I don't see it happening. I don't see that team being or adapting. I haven't seen it.
You're wrong and you're right. The only reason that you're wrong is last year was probably going to be his last year. And he's kind of come out and said it, and he said, because we had such a bad year, I couldn't end off on it. But then last year was supposed to be it. He wants to end off on a good season, and that's it. I mean, he's at the end of his tenure, not by being pushed out, but because it's just his time to retire. So I think you're only right if you're right because he wants to retire, not because of the quality of coach he is. He is top notch, and I don't see how you can see otherwise. He's had one bad year. That's it. Where things went south because of injuries and this and that. That team is loaded, and people are overshooting them. I mean, I can see their ceiling is higher than Kansas. I will tell you that.
Okay.
They've got dudes all over. And
they're
just
making the
star
Big 12
NFL dudes. What?
Are they making the Big 12 championship?
No, they're not. But their ceiling is up there.
It's going to be a five-way Big 12 championship.
Their ceiling's up there. I mean, they're
all
line.
Big 12.
Yeah.
I don't see any holes in their game. They've got talent everywhere, in my opinion. And nobody's going to be watching out for them like last year. Last year they put a target on their back because they came in with, oh, we're going to come and we're going to destroy the truck conference and look at us. We're on the way to the Big Ten. And they deserve some humbling, and I'm so glad that they got it. But they're so much better than people give them credit for. They're scary.
I don't even hate the team. I have no rivalry beef with them. I just don't think they're passing the eye test right now. But we'll see.
I think they're a mid-tier team, so I could be overlooking them. I think they could play upset in a couple games. I don't think they're a contender this year.
Let's end it with three teams that, let's talk about Baylor first, and then we'll end it with four teams that I think are at the exact same place in their careers. So Baylor, I think they're a dark horse. They were one of the hottest teams to end the season. They won 6 in a row, and then they played LSU in that bowl game. They did. The final score did not indicate it, but LSU pulled off a couple of big plays to extend the lead late in the fourth quarter. But for 3.5 quarters, that was a football game. Mm-hmm. This is a tough team. Dave Aranda has listened to all of the crap that he's been given for the last 2 or 3 years, and he has just canceled it out and been on the grind. People got to watch out for this team. I don't know if this is the year for them, but if there's a team that is waiting in the wings, in the shadows, to trip people up and make a run, I do think it's that.
I like Baylor. They've Sawyer Robertson. He's good. They've got that game at SMU, and they've got 2 games, right? And I think the conference kind of is relying on them. Big 12 does not have a lot of out of conference big time games.
No, they don't.
And they need to get any of them they can, and they really need Baylor to win either against Auburn or they need to take down SMU.
Baylor probably has the toughest non-conference schedule between Auburn and SMU. Yeah. And I think the only other bigger game for the Big 12 in non-conference is Oklahoma State plays Oregon in week 2. Yeah, so if anybody's going to represent this conference well on the national scene, it's going to be Baylor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, SMU also plays TCU, so that'll be an interesting one as well.
I think Baylor's got a better shot.
Yeah, they've got a better shot. Yeah. I agree on that. If they come out of that in decent shape, let's say they go 1-1, their conference schedule seems pretty nice.
Yeah.
I mean, they can definitely make a run. I mean, we'll see, but I'm high on Baylor. I think they can get like a 9-3 record.
Yeah, those first 4 games. Right. I mean, 3 out of those 4 games are Auburn, SMU, and Arizona State. Now, 2 of those 3 are at home. So if they're going to make a name for themselves, they're going to make it in that first month of the season.
Hey, this is the one I was waiting for. Baylor. I have high hopes for Baylor. I think that really outside of their out of conference schedule is tough, but their Big 12 schedule is a cakewalk compared to some of the other schedules. Like they end the season against most of the weak teams in the Big 12. They have Houston, Arizona, Utah, Cincinnati, UCF, TCU. That's all in a row.
Yeah,
at the end of their season.
Their second half, they could steamroll the second half if they end up living up to what we. I
honestly see it that I think they could easily go 1-for-1 in the Auburn and SMU, and then I think they could go undefeated in Big 12 play. I think they might steal a game from Arizona State because they're at home, and that's the one game that I have Arizona State losing is against Baylor.
They're a trap game for sure. That's one that a lot of people are overlooking right now for Arizona State.
I have Baylor in the Big 12 championship with Arizona State in a rematch.
Interesting. I wouldn't even call that a hot take. I like that take.
I know it's interesting. I think Baylor takes it because they're at home, and then I think the rematch in a neutral field is going to be a really interesting watch if it turns out the way I think it is.
If there's one thing we learned from last year, it's that you never want to play the same team twice, especially not with everything on the line. Ohio State during the regular season was not the best team in the country, objectively. Mm-hmm. But they learned from their mistakes, and boy, did they correct.
Playing Georgia.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter. You're gonna lose.
Well, let's wait until we get to the single greatest player to ever step foot on a college football field in Arch Manning. Even better than anybody who's ever played for Alabama. But we'll wait till the SEC episode everybody how we feel about that one. But yeah. All right, let's wrap this up with the lightning round. I got Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, and Kansas State being absolute coin flips. Colorado, 2 years under Deion Sanders, still has not won a single game against a ranked opponent. Yeah, they won 9 games. They lost all their big ones, including an absolute shellacking by BYU, with both of their best players still on the field.
Dominant performance from BYU.
Dominant. And as dominant as it was by BYU, I think it equally exposed that Travis Hunter did not deserve the Heisman. Generational talent, sure, in that he's an athlete, but they couldn't close out games to save their lives, and they still can't. I'll believe any hype when I see it.
Did you not see some of the games? What was that crazy game last year that they had no way of winning and they still won?
Colorado?
Yeah, Colorado last year.
They barely beat Colorado State last year.
Was it Colorado State? I thought it was somebody else that they just had a miracle that they won. I mean, they pulled out some games that they weren't supposed to win.
They pulled out some games against unranked opponents that they weren't supposed to win. That's not exactly a confidence builder.
Yeah, I mean, I have the middle of the Big 12, but I just think Deion Sanders is so good for this conference and the NCAA that I hope they don't melt down.
He's got to win some games, though, is the thing. This is year 3. This is the make or break for the Deion Sanders tenure.
He took over the worst team in all of college football. To do what he did, I think he needs more praise than criticism, in my opinion.
I mean, he's definitely improved Colorado. I mean, just selling tickets for Colorado was a massive improvement, and he's done that. He's a great marketing mind. He has done great things for that program. He gave them a Heisman. But unfortunately, one of those things that he hasn't done for that program is win games that matter. So they had a pretty mid-tier schedule last season, and they had a chance to be in the Big 12 championship, and they choked at the end of the season and ended up getting absolutely exposed by BYU, showing that they really did not deserve to be that far. So I have them dropping off quite a bit this season. They could prove me wrong and be a solid team, but I really, if Deion makes this team a contender, then I think that would say quite a bit about his coaching ability, but I just don't think he has the parts now. I think he lost too much talent.
No, he doesn't have the talent. But I will defend Deion Sanders and say, besides the BYU game where he was outclassed as a coach, he has been a good coach. Watching him and his decisions, I think he's a top-tier coach. I do. It's not just the recruits. But he's going to lose the talent, and they're going to end up 6-6 or 7-5 this year.
I think I agree with all the above. Houston and K-State. I see them both as coin flips. I think K-State and Houston actually have similar ceilings and similar floors. K-State somehow always just seems to screw it up. I think Avery Johnson's great. Is he going to be able to do anything with it? I don't know.
The problem is Avery Johnson is great, and then he forgets how to throw a forward pass sometimes.
Yeah. Now, he was a freshman last year.
No,
I thought he was a freshman
he
last
was a sophomore last year.
True sophomore? Or redshirt sophomore?
No, I think he was a sophomore last year.
He definitely played like a freshman then, in my opinion. I thought he was a freshman the whole time by how he played.
I could be wrong. Double check.
But, yeah. Houston was in a couple of the games they played, and then they also got shut out twice. They've got money, but they don't seem to be attracting players for some reason. I don't get it. And a lot of people are probably going to get mad at me for comparing those two schools, especially with K-State having a much better season than Houston last year. But I think going into this year, they should be equally hyped. Houston should have the parts. Houston has no business with having the record that they did last year. They have too much talent. They've got too much of a positive fan base. They've got too much money. They got to put something together.
I think Houston's going to struggle again this season. I have a different opinion about K-State though. I think K-State's going to be a contender as well. I think they're another team that's benefiting from a weaker Big 12 schedule. They have that opening game against Iowa State, as we talked about earlier, in Ireland, and I think they do take that game, but that one is a toss-up. After that, I mean, their games they play after that: North Dakota, Army, Arizona, UCF, Baylor. That's a game that I think they're going to lose. TCU could be up in the air. They have Kansas, Texas Tech, and then they finish the season with Oklahoma State, Utah, and Colorado. I do think that they're going to win. I do think that they're going to win at least 9.
9 is what you're thinking? You're thinking that they win the majority of their tough games?
I think they're going to win the majority of their games. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think they're making the Big 12 because the ASU and Baylor are going to have better seasons, but I think they're going to be another team that's in the conversation at the end of the season. And if another team trips up and chokes, then I think they'll have a chance. So they always seem to do that. There's been seasons where I watch them, they lose early and they don't have any reason to be in that Big 12 game, and then they make it, and then they beat a team. That one year they beat TCU. They beat TCU in that championship.
Only two teams did that all year. The national champion and K-State.
They had no business doing that to them, and they just absolutely stomped on them. It was like, okay, cool.
TCU beat Michigan that year. Like, that's how good TCU was that year.
TCU was a good team, and K-State just came out of nowhere and said, "We don't want you to have a perfect season. Sorry,
not today." All right, we got one hot take out of this. Any parting shots on the Big 12? I think it's going to be one of the most fun conferences to watch in college football. Just as unpredictable as ever. Going to be a good time.
All right, well, that was your Big 12 breakdown. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see the punishment later in the season for Connor. But for now, we'll see you in the next episode. And this was the Concussion Protocol.